Found out that my 26F boyfriend, 29M, was about to propose to me, then changed his mind. I've been with my boyfriend John for 5 years. We have a pretty awesome relationship. Great communication, fun, easygoing, with good chemistry. We've always talked about getting married, and I have had no doubts that we would be getting engaged very soon. Recently, John, myself, John's closest friend and his girlfriend, went on a trip to Vegas for several days. We had a great time, all 4 of us, and on our last night there, John told us he wanted to go to the Bellagio fountains to see them before we had to leave. Everyone was up for it. We went for a nice dinner beforehand, and then began watching the fountains and the music came on. It was really romantic, and I was really enjoying myself, and that's when John grabbed my wrist. He turned me toward him and I saw that he was sweating profusely. Like, his face was bright red and he looked like he was about to pass out from trembling so hard. The whole time it looked like he was about to say something, but he never did. He just informed all of us that he wasn't feeling well and wanted to go back to the hotel. Our friends looked really puzzled and were whispering into each other's ears all the way back to the hotel. I kept asking John if he was okay, and he just said he probably had too much to drink. We've been back for a couple of weeks and he's been acting really distant and cold. I honestly knew something weird was up that night in Vegas, so I called up John's friend's girlfriend, who I'm fairly close to, and asked her if she knew what was going on with John, since he had been at their place a lot this past week instead of coming home. Eventually, she spilled the beans and told me he had plans of proposing to me that night at the fountains, but then didn't. That's why the 2 of them had been acting so confused. I kept grilling her and she also told me that John had told his friend that it didn't feel right. She made me promise not to tell John that I knew because she didn't want anyone to be upset with her. I'm feeling sick to my stomach. We live together and he has been spending all of his time at his friend's house or at his parents' place since we got back. He barely calls me or responds to my texts anymore. I don't know what happened that night, but I feel like he's about to end things. I want to talk to him, but I don't know how to approach the issue. Do I just say, "Hey, I heard you were gonna pop the question the other night, but changed your mind"? What gives? Was he really nervous? I'm freaking out. Update 1. Hello everyone. I apologize for not updating sooner, but a lot has happened. I'd like to say thank you to everyone who posted comments and to those who tried to reassure me. So John came home last night around 11:30 as I was watching TV in our bedroom. He came in and looked like absolute shit. His eyes looked tired and baggy and he smelled like beer. He apologized to me for the way he had been acting recently, and told me he knew that I knew about the almost proposal as he had talked to his friend Mike, and he told John that his girlfriend Tara had told me everything. He basically said to me that he had the whole thing planned out. He was going to propose and Tara and Mike would take pictures, then we would go back to a romantic, more expensive room in our hotel, which Mike and Tara had to end up staying in that night so as to make sure I wasn't aware of the fact that John was supposed to propose. They switched key cards while I was walking back. He then told me what I was afraid of. It just didn't feel right. I was looking at you. And it just wasn't what I wanted. Ouch. He told me that he had been nervous ever since he bought the ring, but that he'd thought it would go away once he actually proposed. In the moment, he said he knew that it was not what he wanted and thought it would be better to not ask me to marry him because he knew it wasn't what he'd want in the long run. So at this point I'm in hysterics, as I pretty much know that this is the end of the relationship. I tried to be calm and rational about it, but there was one point where I was crying so hard that I literally got down on my knees, put my head in his lap while he sat on the couch, and just kept incoherently saying please, in between sobs. Not my proudest moment. But at that moment, this man was my best friend, the future father of my children. I just never, ever in a million years, pictured our relationship coming to this point. He ended it with me last night because it didn't feel right, and that's all he could say to me, over and over, "It just doesn't feel right anymore. I can't see myself with you." At that point I could barely breathe. Feels like I'm having a panic attack. So I call my mom and she comes to pick me up from our place. My poor mom, she just looked so helpless while I sat there in the car crying so hard I eventually got a nosebleed. So I wish I could say this is the end of the story, but more has happened since last night. This morning, I'm on Facebook, looking through a bunch of old picture of John and me, sobbing uncontrollably and sending him text after text with reasons why we should be together, and I eventually stumble onto Mike's page through a tagged photo. He updated his status from a few hours ago to something along the lines of, "California was amazing, wish work would send me for more than 5 days." My stomach started doing flips, because John kept telling me he was spending the days he was practically ignoring me with Mike. But Mike was in California for several days, and we're in Canada, so not very close. I freaked. I called Mike from my house phone and when he answered I said, "Hey, It's acetylsalicylic acid. And all he could say after a few seconds of silence was fuck. Basically, Mike's been covering for John's ass while John is spending time with the girl he's been apparently fucking for the past 6 months. I know this girl. John works with her and she's always been really sweet to me whenever I've seen her at John's work-related events. Mike told me that John had told him he was falling in love with her. He said this after the incident in Vegas. He's been spending almost all of the past 2 weeks with her. Mike then told me he had promised not to say a word to anyone, not even Tara, but he felt guilty and was glad I called him. He apologized and said if I had to tell John that he told me I could. That's all I know for now. I haven't bothered contacting John yet, and I don't know if Mike told him that I know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I've been throwing up all day. I took one of my mom's Ativans and am feeling a bit calmer right now, but whenever I think about it, which is practically all that consumes my thoughts, I feel disgusted, humiliated and devastated. It actually feels like my heart is breaking in two and I have no control. I need to get my stuff from our place. I need to find a new place. We have a dog. Who gets the dog? I love my dog. It all feels so surreal. Ugh.